News of the unprovoked massacre at Outpost Delta had Jack seeing red. Executed survivors in the video made his fingers twitch for vengeance. His friend Aiden took no solace in his cigarette, mind racing with counter-strategies. With human lives lost, Jack deployed Project Hercules against the Tharn fleet. As AI fighters swarmed skyward, Jack hoped technology would rain fire on his enemy. In the tense command room, mankind held its breath. Failure now could make Earth the next Tharn target. Stoic as ever, Jack seethed inside. Win or lose today, humanity would never surrender. Jack froze, staring at the blue screen lighting up the command room. Levi Foot-Aga showed swarms of Hercules' metal dronies gliding around the Tharn, ships, dodging and weaving with precision. The AI-powered drones easily outpaced the Tharn fleet in a lethal dance. Each explosion that turned a Tharn ship into debris brought murmurs through the room. Officers and analysts exchanged triumphant, disbelief-filled looks. But Jack's face stayed hard as stone. To him, each Tharn loss was just one more step down a long, bloody road. Cheers erupted when the last Tharn ship exploded over Ceres, but Jack cut through the celebrations. "Good work. Stay ready. This fight isn't over," he yelled over the noise. Nearby, Aiden tapped fast on his keyboard, cigarette dangling from his lips. His screen showed incoming data and new simulations. "Jack, we've bought some time. I'm testing shield upgrades and strike patterns. When they return, we'll hit back harder." The brief victory ended with a new alert. The screen displayed a massive new Tharn fleet headed for Earth. The room tensed, air sucked away. Jack burst into action, barking orders into his communicator. "Begin coastal evacuation now. All civilians out of impact zones within the hour. Move!" Across at-risk cities, alarms sounded the evacuation. Jack's fingers flew as he contacted defense leaders worldwide. Their faces flickered on screen, etched with determination. "This is a unified defense," Jack commanded. "All assets, all firepower now under one banner. Hold the line." Meanwhile, Aiden ran battle plans, discarding each one. He focused intently, scrutinizing the probability streams. There must be a weakness. "Come on," he muttered. Amidst the frantic energy, Jack stood tall, watching the massive enemy forces. His pounding heart held not fear, but resolve. Silence fell over the room as all awaited the clash. Eyes met across the space, nods exchanged. Facing the threat, humanity was one unbreakable entity, resolve firm as mountains. "Let them come," Jack whispered. "They don't know what humans can do." Orbit stations exploded one by one, new stars blinking in and out against the black. On Earth, Jack watched the screens light up with loss after loss. "Full power to shields! Keep those guns firing, no stopping!" Jack shouted into the comm, voice slicing through static. Aiden's fingers flew, tapping codes to screens. "Power rerouted from other systems to shields," he said steadily amidst rising panic. Jack eyed the hologram, swarms of red dots like hungry locusts. "Launch decoys now!" Squadrons of drones darted out, false targets for the enemy. Sirens wailed planet-wide as seasides emptied. People fled from the promise of destruction above. Each blast meant ruin below. The orbiting crew fought fiercely, knowing any breath could be their last. For each lost station, each dead channel, the AI guns spit back rounds in cold vengeance. Jaw set, Jack stood firm against annihilation. Aiden carved out survival amidst the chaos. "Status report!" Jack demanded, eyes locked on the carnage. "Shields holding at 63%, decoys working. Enemy firing down 17%, an officer said tightly. Jack nodded. "Hold the line. Every second is a victory." Humanity bled in space but struck back, wounded yet unbroken. This was the full fury of the human spirit against the void. The Tharn fleet punched through Earth's last shields in orbit. Jack felt the sting of loss as the screens showed the blinking out defense satellites. Not one for sorrow, he hit the red hammerfall button. Aiden ran the last stand like a maestro. His steady but tense voice echoed in command. "Start hammerfall. All units report ready." The world paused a heartbeat before the skies erupted in payback. Jack watched the monitor light up as the hammerfall guns reported in. Fast rail rounds and missiles filled the blue sky with gray. Hidden gun platforms and silos came to life across the planet, each one a beating heart of human fight. Shots climbed into the sky from Beijing, Shanghai, New York. Each one a loud no to the Tharn. Their ships met the kinetic anger head-on. The hulls cracked under the impacts, fiery flowers blooming where once sat order. Below, cities became fortresses. People who hours before ate dinner now sheltered underground. Soldiers stood with militias, veterans nodding to rookies. No room for fear here. Homes turned to bastions, streets to kill zones. Jack squinted at the streams of reports, voices in command, steady but tense. "Grid Alpha, 7 down, Bravo, 3 more." His voice cut through. "Stay on them, constant barrage." Jack's face showed the hours of focus, lines etched by duty's weight. But his eyes stayed clear, his stance firm. He bore witness to humanity's stand. Silence fell when the update came through. Enemy stopped at Sector 3. Ground forces engaged, holding the line. Jack's lips parted. "Every second we hold is a win. Push them back." On streets scarred by the craters of war, humans fought not for ground but for tomorrow. Every fallen building, every crater showed their defiance. Earth's shots a tribute to the lost, every round a promise for the future. Aiden stared at the streams of data on his flickering screen. Code poured through like a flood. He narrowed his eyes, searching for the signal in the noise. His fingers tapped the console urgently. "Their flagship shields got a glitch, Jack. The frequency leaves a gap, just big enough for a nanosecond pulse from Hercules." Jack spun, the room's blue light throwing shadows on his face. "You sure?" "Positive. Their loop has an error. Never tested the shields against our tech." Jack grabbed his mic, thumb hitting the button. "Hercules Control, command here. Execute blackout on my mark." The AI fleet received the order, cores humming, ready to move. Hundreds of drones broke formation, slipping through the thin shield slice. The Tharns focused on the main fleet, missing the ghosts. "Now, Hercules, now!" Jack watched the dance between pulses and laser fire. In unison, the drones fired bursts through the gap. The Tharn flagship shuddered under the sudden strikes. Lights flickered across its hull as circuits blew from the onslaught. Caos took the fleet with its core struck. Ships collided, veering off course. Their flow exposed, their shields were worth less. The crippled flagship floundered among the stars. Jack stared as explosions bloomed within it. A rare grin cracked his stoic face. That's it, Hercules. Rain hell. On Earth, battle echoed. Soldiers hunkered in cover, weapons ready. Scrambled commands left the wounded mothership. The Tharns hesitated. Sensing opportunity, the humans sprang forth. Militia and army moved as one. Guns cut down the dazed invaders with sharp movements. Buildings gave cover. Streets funneled them into kill zones. Their ferocity came from defending their home. Jack and Aiden witnessed the alien titan unraveling. Through screens and reports, they tracked the Armada's collapse. Escape pods ejected from the bleeding flagship. The command room held its breath, eyes locked on the screen, hearts beating with the rhythm of battle. A cheer rose, born of relief, defiance, victory. The tide had turned. This was the day humanity showed its teeth. When they found courage staring into the abyss, when they taught the galaxy the cost of underestimating the human spirit. Jack stared hard at the workers. "Get me the status on our defenses now." His eyes scanned the room as the workers typed on their keyboards to check on the defense systems. Aiden shook his head, looking at the data. Not good news. The Tharn wrecked our satellites and shield generators bad. How long to fix them? Jack's voice was steel. Aiden kept typing fast, not looking up. Weeks at least. But that's too long. I'll patch up what I can. Jack nodded and turned to the large screen. The thrill of beating the Tharn faded as new intel flashed, a huge Tharn force regrouping past the Kuiper Belt. Tell the tech teams work on the shields and turrets first. Need them running yesterday, Jack ordered. His hand rested on the map of Earth's defenses. Aiden focused on the code streaming by. I'm boosting the AI to react faster to the Tharn, Jack. While Aiden worked to speed up the drones, Jack called the other worlds. His face appeared on screens across ruined civilizations. This is Jack Sullivan of Earth. We survived the Tharn attack, but they're regrouping. If you fought them, we need your help. Anything. Info, resources. Weary alien faces nodded back on the screens. Data came in, weapon frequencies, shield weaknesses, battle tactics. Jack scanned the data, making a new battle plan. The shield grid's looking better, a tired technician said. Every working turret and shield counts. Work harder, Jack told him. Eyes stared at monitors in the command center. Hands adjusted settings and calculated aim. No chatter filled the room, only the hum of focused work. On Earth, people filled the streets fixing the damage. Buildings bore battle scars, but the sounds of repair brought hope. Around the world, civilians and soldiers reinforced defenses together. Old hatreds faded against their shared survival. Humanity stood united. In space, upgraded drones powered up, gleaming and ready to face the Tharn again thanks to Aiden's tweaks. Aiden glanced at Jack with bloodshot but fierce eyes. They're coming, but we're not the same Earth they first attacked. Jack met his gaze, firm and steady. We're ready. Let's show them what happens when you attack humans. Jack's hands gripped the console in the command center as screens glowed dire. The Tharn were building a superweapon aimed at obliterating Earth. Time was short. He turned to the room. The Tharn will wipe out Earth. We destroy their weapon or die. Aiden nodded, heavy with the burden. The AIs are loaded with your battle plans. We're set for a frontal assault. The center hummed with urgent energy as volunteers stepped forward to pilot the ships. Their faces showed quiet resolve against near-certain death. They clasped hands with those staying behind before boarding silently. This was no time for goodbyes. Cloaked in darkness, the fleet maneuvered through space beyond the Kuiper Belt. On feeds, they appeared as slender hope against the stars. Signal's weak. Keep communication lines open, Aiden said, focused on the transmission bars. The Tharn construction site loomed large on screens, a network of platforms and half-built superweapon. The volunteer fleet fanned out in tight formation and plunged into the fray. Lasers lit up faces tightened in determination as silent strikes crisscrossed the void. Aiden's fingers flew across the keyboard, commanding the AIs. Strike your targets fast and hard, he instructed evenly amidst the chaos. Explosions blossomed, scattering fire and metal without sound, a silent dirge for the lost. In the command center, hearts clenched at each flare of light and damage report. Jack watched the feeds rigidly as loss and victory traded blows in his chest. The Tharn reeled, but each explosion came at a cost. They're fighting like they've got nothing left to lose, Jack murmured. Aiden kept his eyes fixed ahead. They know Earth's survival is at stake. Pressing their advantage, the pilots moved in. Jack's strategy turned the tide as platforms collapsed and superweapon fell silent. Keep the pressure, push them back, Jack urged. With Aiden's precise AI commands, the fleet pierced defenses and triggered a final blinding explosion. The Tharn construction and superweapon were reduced to dust. In the command center, relief flooded in. but silence acknowledged the sacrifice. Jack turned to the faces around him. Remember their courage today? Aiden nodded solemnly. Human spirit won't break, not today, not ever. Earth's story continued, written by sacrifice, courage, and an indomitable will. The command center went quiet. Eyes locked on the screen, watching the Tharn superweapon charge up. The metal monster at the edge of the sky pointed its barrel at Earth. Aiden's hand hovered over the shield controls. He held his breath, then slammed the button. The view screen flashed to outside where the energy dome appeared around the planet. The Tharn weapon fired. The white-hot spear of death raced toward Earth. The shield lit up bright as the projectile hit. An explosion bloomed overhead, a terrifying beauty, throwing northern lights across the world. Cities stood untouched below. In orbit, the volunteers attacked. Their ships, a mix of old fighters and new, swarmed the breach in defenses. Tharn guns fired wildly, disrupted. Jack's fists clenched tight, knuckles white. A comms officer approached, voice flat but strained. "Sir, casualties, but they're pushing through." He nodded once, sharp and quick. His chest tightened at the losses. Pride swelled too. These were his people, brave souls with fire in their hearts. The command center vibrated with tension. On screens, volunteer blips went dark, but more pushed on, relentless. Aiden's eyes stayed locked to his screens. Commands and code guided the assault with each keystroke. "Hit them hard," he muttered, sending the order. The volunteers listened. They dove at the weapon platform. Explosions tore through metal and armor. Jack watched, heart pounding with each report, each team cheer. The structure weakened, destruction spreading inside it. Then the fatal strike came. The command center erupted in cheers as the superweapon crumbled apart. Earth stood saved by human determination again. Jack's face stayed hard, but relief shone in his eyes. "Status on defenses now." His voice rang out, clear and firm. Aiden glanced at the code. "Not good. They wrecked the satellites and shields bad." "How long to fix them?" Jack's voice was iron hard. Aiden's fingers danced on. "Weeks at least, but that's too long. I'll patch what I can." Jack nodded once, eyes already on the defense screens. The Tharn fleet was beaten, but the war wasn't over. "Prioritize shields and turrets," he ordered, hand on the battered grid. Aiden's eyes fixed ahead. "Boosting the AI reaction speed, Jack." Their determination echoed in the room. People stared at monitors, hands on controls, adjusting, calculating, preparing. Only the hum of focus filled the space. On streets, repair crews worked, shoring defenses. The damaged cities wore their scars with pride, the sound of rebuilding a chorus of hope. Across the globe, humanity fortified their home, old divisions forgotten, united now against the threat. Aiden looked at Jack, fatigue on his face but fierce determination in his eyes. "They're coming, but we're not the same Earth they attacked before." Jack met his stare, resolute. "We're ready. Let's show them what happens when you mess with humans." The Tharn ships scattered on the screens, drifting aimless and broken after Operation Starfall. Smoke from their smashed weapon platform drifted into the black. The command room went silent as all eyes fixed on the wreckage. Jack leaned on the cold metal console. Aiden stood close. Distant cheers of the repair crews echoed through the hull. Jack turned to Aiden. "Find their leaders. We end this." Aiden's focus didn't break as he tapped out commands to pull the last known coordinates of the Tharn command ships. "Just doing my duty," he said in reply. Offers of aid blinked in from worlds across the stars. Andromeda to Zeta. Reticuli, pledged ships, guns, even refuge. They owed Earth, big time. Jack scanned each proposal, eyes sharp. An alien leader's voice crackled over the comms. Your fight's our fight now, Sullivan. Aiden smiled, rare. We've got friends again. With allies rallying, peace was within reach. Jack sent a clear message across all channels. We'll talk, but here on Earth. Our terms. The Tharn eventually responded. We will come. It is time. Jack sat straight across from the Tharn envoys in the sterile negotiation room. Their suits looked out of place against the Earth chairs. The tense air pulsed with history. From behind, Aiden whispered, They know they can't win now. Jack kept his eyes fixed on the Tharn. We didn't come to gloat. We came for peace. They went through it point by point. Prisoners, borders, all of it. Hours turned to days as Earth stood firm. We've lost everything, the Tharn finally said. Let us find a new way. Jack didn't hesitate. One that respects all. In the end, a document took form, shielding the future with each clause and sentence. The signing was quick and quiet, just pens on paper and curt nods. Jack's hand stayed steady, a tribute to the fallen with each stroke. In the corner, Aiden watched in silence, a guardian of the hard-won peace. They both knew the words were now a vow. Leaving the talks, the weight of their achievement sank in. News feeds across the galaxy blazed with headlines of Earth's stand. Humanity's legend spread far and wide, told on cold nights and warm days, giving hope. Though still bearing scars, Earth's cities shone bright again, resilient. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as victim, but vanguard. As Jack looked out across the rebuilding, he knew this was just the beginning. Jack looked at the crumbled city all around him. The tall buildings were now broken and jagged. The busy streets were quiet. No more bombs dropped today. The fighting was over for now. People crawled the streets, working. They lifted steel and poured concrete. Drones buzzed overhead looking at the damage. The sound was not of breaking, but of fixing. It was like a song of being reborn. Jack watched from far away. His face showed the tiredness of winning and losing. His eyes moved over every working person. He saw people coming together. They were not just rebuilding the city. They were rebuilding their spirit. "Jack Sullivan!" someone yelled. A group walked over. They had all been through the fighting. They saluted Jack as they came close. "We heard you talk. We're with you, all the way." Jack nodded, accepting their salute. "Keep up the good work. Each nail and brick counts." Inside a tent used for headquarters, screens lit up. Faces of new allies appeared and disappeared. Words of help flowed in. Jack listened to each call closely, as he had battle plans. "Thank you," he said to a Zeta leader. "Your engineers are making a difference." He turned to another screen. "The power generators from Andromeda are running. We won't forget your gift." Aiden entered the tent. His hands were dirty and he carried tech papers. "Jack, I've got teams updating the network with what we've learned. Tech for peace this time. We'll be ready to prevent a fight, not start one." Jack smiled, a tight but true smile. "That's what I like to hear." Aiden pointed to a patch on his shirt, a phoenix rising up. "It's the symbol of the New Earth Corps of Engineers. We rise, rebuild, and move forward." Earth's wounds became medals of honor. Its craters became wells of shared experience. This new time was about more than just fixing things. It was about reinventing. One day, while looking at rebuilt parts of the city, a child pulled on Jack's sleeve. "Mister," she said, holding up a simple drawing of Jack and an alien shaking hands. "Is this you? My mom said why we're still here." Jack knelt down and took the drawing gently. "It's all of us together, kid. We stayed strong as one." The girl smiled with pride for her planet and people. "I'm going to be strong too." Jack stood, giving back the drawing. You already are. At night, Jack and Aiden sat on a roof, looking at the progress below. Lights flickered on, showing life coming back. You did good, Jack, Aiden said, eyes on the horizon. We did good, Jack corrected. We showed them. They sat in a comfortable silence. The city's heartbeat was strong under them. Tomorrow promised more allies, more lessons learned. The galaxy saw Earth's next move with new respect. For Jack, memories of war left him. A vision of peace took over. Earth stood strong, showing what happens if you mess with humans. They rise up as one, unite, and overcome. The galaxy learned this lesson. Humanity would teach more, not through fighting, but through the spirit of its people.